There's several things that anyone can do to free up money without having to work harder or scrimp or sacrifice or wait for 30 years to finally enjoy it. If you're the type of person that has loans, one of the things you could do is called reallocation. Reallocation looks at the bigger picture and says, where are you earning interest versus where are you paying it? And when you have places where you're earning less than you're paying, this is a guaranteed return.
Let's put more money in your pocket, increase your financial IQ, and create more peace of mind, clarity, and certainty in your life. Welcome to Money Matters, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we tackle the money topics that matter.
It can improve your cash flow, it can improve your credit score, it can improve your quality of life simply because you're not up at night worried about these loans, and when you have less that you have to pay, that's more that you have to invest, not only in yourself, but maybe even in your quality of life in a guilt-free way. I'm Garrett Gunderson. I've got Tim Absolutely Carden. You'll know what I mean when absolutely is Tim's word of the day. So every time he says absolutely, you have to take a shot. Or if you're like Tim, who has never drank in his life, you have to, let's see, what would you have to do? Like a push-up. Yeah. You know, so it's your choice. You either get healthier or unhealthy during the segment, but we're going to make you financially fit, that's for sure. All right, let's talk reallocation here. Okay. Right? I just look at the bigger picture. So I have this friend, and he was in our financial program at Wealth Factory, and he was complaining about a 6% loan he had, and he wanted to refinance it. And I was like, well, before you refinance it, do you have any cash or do you have any investments? We get to the point where he's got almost twice as much as what he needs to pay this off, not quite twice, in a certificate of deposit. I'm like, well, why don't you cash it out? That's earning half of what this loan's costing you. He says, but there's a penalty. Now, I went to Catholic school. The word penalty scares me, as it should. I'm not saying I didn't deserve this, but you know, when you hear penalty, you think rulers, you think, you know, being in trouble. So I kind of avoid that word. But look, I get that there was a penalty, but I said, let's figure out what it is. So we got on a live chat. The penalty was forfeiting 3 months interest. So we were going to make up within like 40 days, whatever that penalty is, in savings on the interest. So I responded, not really a penalty at all, and they put LOL from the bank. So the reality is we were able to cash this out and get a massive return because let's say he was paying 6% and he was only earning 3%. If you're getting if you buy something for $3 and you sell it for $6, that's a 100% markup.
Absolutely.
So this is a 100% difference in his cash flow and in the savings. So that's what we ended up doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the banks don't like us to look at it
There's
that way.
two absolutely's. I hope that you took your shot or did your push-up. Just a heads up.
Yes, I'm going to have to watch
That's okay.
that from now on.
We all have our
words.
words.
I'll keep you safe.
When I read transcripts, I'm like, I love the word so. It's cool.
I just don't want anybody to have kidney issues at the end of or liver issues at the end of the podcast. Here, so.
For the drinking you don't do, they're going to make up for it.
That's the cash flow tip number one. Is take all the money you would have saved on alcohol and invest it instead, right?
And I, on the other hand, drink twice as much to compensate for Tim's lack of drinking.
But we see that with clients. Banks don't want us to look at that scenario right there, right? They want us to have our savings account over here and their loans over here because they're making interest off both sides. But just that simple task of reallocation, combining the two together is huge for many, many clients. And we don't just see it just at like a CD or something at the bank. It could be your qualified plan.
Right, qualified plan would be 401k, IRA, simple IRA, SEP IRA, if you're Canadian, an RSP. And you might be able to even borrow. It's not my favorite place to borrow because here's one thing that most people don't consider. You're borrowing pre-tax money, and then when you go to pay that loan back, it's with your after-tax dollars. Yep. So you have to take after-tax dollars to put the money back in there. Don't love that. Yeah. And there's usually more rigid payback periods. But let's say that they only charge you 5%, and you have a loan that's at 7%. Well, you're not getting hit or dinged on your credit for getting a 401k loan. And you're saving interest, so there's two very compelling reasons to maybe do that.
And many of the 401k loans are structured such that the interest you pay back actually goes into your account for you. So that kind of helps out a little bit. It's not a cost to the company anymore, or to you, I guess. It's going into your plan.
Right, so 401k or a retirement plan might be a place. If you have cash value insurance, that might be a place where you can get a better interest rate and save money and then have your own payback period and not impact your credit score.
Absolutely.
Right? What are...
3 absolutely.
So another absolutely.
But yeah, then there's also the reallocation with friends or relatives that have money that's not earning any interest for them.
Intra-family loan. I remember one of my college roommates. His family had a bunch of money, and so he and his brother got loans from their family that ended up producing a higher interest rate than their savings accounts for the family, ended up getting them a lower interest rate than they would have paid from the banks because it was the down payments on their homes, and it saved them private mortgage insurance. So this was an amazing deal all the way around.
Yep.
The family got to see their kids get into homes. They had the collateral of the home. They got a higher interest rate, lending the money to their kids. Their kids got a lower interest rate, borrowing it from their parents, basically cutting the bank out as the middleman and saving private mortgage insurance.
Yeah, and grandma and grandpa love this. Mom and dad love this when they've entered retirement because they're on a fixed income. And
My grandparents did this for me.
Yeah, you've just created a guaranteed higher fixed income than what they were getting before for them. So it's a win for them. It's a win for you.
My grandparents felt guilty. They got a home equity line of credit. I used it for my business, right? I ended up paying them back plus an interest rate above that, and they were thinking, well, you're paying too much in interest. But it was still like half of what I would have had to pay with 1/10 of the effort because it was coming from them, and they just were able to go get a line of credit really quickly at the bank versus me going through an SBA loan and taking 6 months or you name it, right?
That's how I bought my first car, was a loan from grandma and grandpa. They were getting like 2 or 3% at the bank. Because it was my first loan and I was in college, I wanted to charge them like 7 or 8% on the car loan. So I think I paid them 4.5% or 5%. They got more than they were getting from the bank, saved me some interest, worked out great.
If it goes bad, you know, you've just lost your inheritance. You're hurting yourself. So it's just forwarded inheritance essentially.
Yes.
But so look, there's a great idea within the family potentially, or people that you know. Another example could be, you know, like the 401ks or the cash values, or let's just say you're in a time where you're like, I don't know what's going to happen in the stock market. And maybe you just have a mutual fund and that thing is volatile and there's fees associated with it and you're not sure what's going to happen. Would it give you more peace of mind, more certainty, more cash flow, just cashing that out and paying off certain loans? Like, what would it do for you if you just had no loans because you had these types of situations where you had the assets? That might be. For others, maybe the loans don't bother you as much, but you're just going to compare. What am I earning versus what am I paying? And if that is ever out of balance, then you get to make a choice and decision of where to allocate that. That's why we call it reallocation.
Absolutely. And I use the
Absolutely. I don't know if, does it count when I say absolutely that I'm going to make it, like, because I'm saying absolutely a lot, because, so when you say it, I'm repeating it, it's like a canary.
They're going to be drinking a ton if they're going off both of us. So.
Actually, we think you should be drinking wheatgrass. That's even worse than alcohol. Like my wife dry heaved the first time she drank. It was like giving your kid like some vegetable they hate, and she made it so extreme that I always want to see her drink wheatgrass. So yeah, I'm a terrible person. All right, keep going.
So when we're reallocating one of our own assets, then it just becomes critical to treat it like an investment. So I'm going to invest my own asset into paying off this loan. It's going to free up cash flow will be my rate of return. So I'm going to recapture that, not let Parkinson's law steal it as we discussed earlier. And that way, now we're in a much better situation. We can calculate a rate of return now. That monthly payment times 12 months would give you an annual return divided by what I invested.
All right, explain that one more time.
Okay, so if I take $100,000 from a qualified plan to pay off a loan, and that loan frees up, let's say, $2,000 a month in payments.
Right.
So I can take the $2,000 a month of payments times 12 months to get $24,000 as an annual return, divided by how much I invested, which would have been $100,000 for my qualified plan. That would be a 24% effective rate of return for me to use that qualified plan to pay off that loan, as long as I recapture the $2,000.
Using the word effective, so let's talk about two things: external versus internal return. So internal return is just looking at, if I invest something, right, what is the interest rate that I'm getting? That's my internal return. External return is what other factors come into consideration: taxes, fees, opportunity costs of what I'm not doing. So here's an example of if I have a bunch of money in savings and it's earning 1%. But because I have enough money in savings, I up my deductibles on my car insurance and my homeowner's insurance, effectively lowering my payments because I can cover the first things out of my pocket because I have enough savings. Or maybe I drop my short-term disability policy because I have enough that I've got cash for 6 months. Or maybe I move from a 3-month to a 6-month time period before my disability insurance kicks in. So all of a sudden, that savings account that's only earning 1% is saving me 10%, 20% on my insurance costs. So externally, it might be getting a 10% rate of return, when internally it's only getting 1%. So the reality is this, saving $2,000 a month by paying off this loan of $100,000, it's not a real 24% return internally, but externally it has the effect as if you had freed up or created that type of thing in your life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I'm just here to put it in layman's terms, man, and you're here to say the word absolutely.
And I'm good at it.
Look, you wanted to say it right
I
there.
almost did.
Right, you almost did. Okay, anything else on this reallocation side that we failed to mention?
The one term of caution I have for people is when we do the inter-family loans, whenever I'm involving family with family, I hate to see it when our relationships could get destroyed over money. And so I always say make sure everything's very much in black and white when the logical
Documented.
brain, because our logical brain is the one involved at the beginning, and our logical brain is what we want to be involved at the end, not the emotional one, if something does.
When I lend money to family and friends, I just had to create a rule. I got to treat it as if it was a gift, and if I get it back, it's a gift back that I didn't expect. Because if I treat it as like, is it on time? Where are they spending? Look at the life they're living. They owe me. Then I just found myself in my 20s being poisoned with that type of thinking, which means I'm pretty calculated with where I lend my money at this point, and make sure I have some type of plan.
Yeah, and I always say I can make more money. I can't necessarily make more family or friends that way too. So
You can make more family.
You can make more family.
How many kids do you have?
3.
3. I mean, you could have a 4th kid.
It's enough.
My wife, in a moment of nostalgia, because my son was playing with one of my friends' little girls, she's like, maybe we should adopt a daughter. And I thought maybe we should sleep on it. And then the next day I was like, you think we should adopt? I waited till the kids were misbehaving. She's like, nah. I'm like, cool, yeah, good, yeah. So anyway, not to divert, why don't you give them the absolute bottom line? Look, I didn't say E, so we're good. You don't have
We're
to
good. We're
do
good.
a push-up or drink.
The bottom line really comes down to this. There's going to be things in your current allocations that are serving you and things that are serving the bank. And if you'll actually look at those two, do a comparison, and reallocate those appropriately, you're going to end up with way more dollars in your pocket in the end.
That's all we got to say about that.
Thanks.